Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope.
This is an NB13 production.
Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Talking all facts, keeping egos. If you got receipts, brother, bring them to the show. When it come down to it, who to go? All you LeBron James fans, I want smoke. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Everybody hates Pope. Talking all facts, keeping ego. If you got receipts, brother, bring them to the show. When it come down to it, who to go? All you LeBron James fans, I want smoke.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Everybody Hates Pope Radio. Hey, man, it's the day after, man. It is the day after the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost their playoff game 48-37 to our rival Browns. We can now call them a rival again as they have kicked us out of the playoffs. I've said many times that this is the most lopsided rivalry in sports altogether. All major sports, this is the most lopsided rivalry in sports, but they just made things interesting by beating us. I want to start off the show by saying congratulations to the Browns. Congratulations to Browns fans. They've been making these type of moves for about 4 years now. They put a little bit too much sauce on their moves when they went out and got Odell Beckham, and that kind of set them back. But Beckham got hurt. And as I told you guys, they would get better when Beckham got hurt. They would get better. We don't wish no player to get hurt. I'm simply saying his absence has made them a better team. So anyway, we're still a nation. We just want to talk about it. This is a painful loss. Social media is clowning. Everybody's clowning us. I don't know how many text messages you guys got, but I got a whole lot of text messages. But let's talk about it, man. Going into last night's game, I myself predicted that we would blow them out. However, I did note that if Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 or more picks, this could get ugly. Before the game, I took all week just to do my prediction. I was going back and forth. Before the game, I reached out to Dana Crosby, shout out to Dana, and asked him, hey, man, which Big Ben do you think we're going to get? Are we going to get Big Ben in the second half of Indianapolis Colts that was throwing the ball all around the yard? Or are we going to get Big Ben that wants to dink and dunk and is unwilling to throw the intermediate and deep routes? Dana, of course, said that we were going to get Beast Big Ben. Beast mode Big Ben. That's what he said. Turns out I was just asking the wrong person. I completely forgot that he is a homer and he is a Big Ben fanatic. He's not objective at all when it comes to Ben. But I trusted his word, and my gut instincts were saying, you know what, Ben is a superstar. He is a Hall of Famer. He recognizes that this is, his last rodeo possibly. And so I bet on Big Ben. I thought that Big Ben would come out and set the tone and have another one of his great home games. Turns out, Big Ben, the man that owns the Cleveland Browns, the man that has more victories as a quarterback against the Cleveland Browns than the Cleveland Browns quarterbacks have. He has more wins than the Cleveland Browns do just by playing them twice a year. Just completely dominated them his entire career. Well, it's been the Cleveland Browns that have sent him home and possibly down the retirement path. Who's this loss on, y'all? Who do you blame? Do you blame Big Ben? Do you blame Mike Tomlin? Because whenever the Steelers lose, Mike Tomlin is always to blame. Do you blame the defense? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that defense, okay? Let's talk about that defense. I honestly believe that resting the players actually backfired on us. When we last seen our starters, we were coming back and worn right past Indianapolis Colts for a big time W. But what happened was, because we did not have a real bye week, the Week 17 game against Cleveland became meaningless, and so we rested TJ Watt. We rested Cam Hayward. We rested Big Ben. The thing about it is this, though. All three of them, and we rested TJ Watt. All three of them were trash. All three of them. I don't know how you guys feel about TJ Watt, but I'm going to tread lightly because TJ is one of those players that I've never been more wrong about. When we drafted TJ, I did not want him. It's not that I didn't want him. I wanted someone else. I wanted a corner. But I did not think that he was going to be a star. I definitely didn't think that he would be a defensive player of the year. So I want to tread lightly when being critical of him. But we should never, ever, 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 ever put this man in the category of the Aaron Donalds of the world ever again. Because I noticed this during the year, and I'm really, really sick and tired of seeing TJ Watt take breaks. He's young. You should be in shape. Why are you taking breaks? But nothing annoyed me more, got under my skin more, than seeing TJ Watt on the sideline drinking Gatorade with our season on the line. Drinking Gatorade, gasping for air with our season on the line. That bothered me. Now, not to mention, he didn't do nothing in the game. He didn't do nothing in the game. Our defense as a whole did not get a quarterback sack. Problem. Our defensive line looked like pure trash. Cam Hayward, I'm going to bring this to light. Cam Hayward actually has a history of disappearing in playoff games. He's absolutely trash in the playoffs. And yesterday was no exception to that. He was horrible. Terrell Edmonds, how many missed tackles did he have? Dropped a pick six. Not a pick six, but dropped the interception. Stephon Tuitt, where was he at? Robert Spillane comes back. They put him right in the starting lineup. I did not like that move. I thought Avery Williamson was playing great football. I do not know why they did that, but they did it, and Spillane got trucked by Chubbs. Trucked on a 4-yard ride into the end zone. So, our defense was not our defense. Our defense was not our defense. They did get some stops in the second half. They were put in terrible situations, and I would imagine it's hard to play defense when your offense is just turning the ball over so much, but they cannot get a pass in all of this. Then there's Mike Tomlin. You know what? I'm actually going to give Mike a pass. And the reason I'm going to give him a pass on this game is because, you know, we have this knock where we say, man, we've only won one playoff game in 3 years. Mike Tomlin isn't getting the job done. Well, this is the issue. Mike Tomlin is married to Ben Roethlisberger when it comes to success. All of Mike Tomlin's failures and losses, if you look closely, they were Big Ben playing terrible. For instance, see, Mike Tomlin can catch some heat for this game, but Mike Tomlin didn't throw 4 picks. These relationships between coach and player, coach and quarterback, okay? Belichick and Brady, Peyton and Breeze, Peyton Manning and I forget the brother's name, Tony Dungy. These relationships between the coach and quarterback, a lot of times it depends on the quarterback. For instance, Belichick had a reputation for getting the job done in big time games, right? Well, guess what? So does Tom Brady. Tom Brady didn't have these Ben type moments. Tom Brady does not show up in the playoffs and throw 4 picks. Tom Brady doesn't do that. Now, since I've laid the groundwork and I'm saying that a lot of Tomlin's failures are Ben's failures, I'm going to say, though, that Tomlin has got to do a better job of getting coordinators and staff around him that are legit. that are legit. I don't believe that's his job. I've never seen Tomlin hire nor fire a coach. That is the actual job of the general manager. Pittsburgh does have a general manager, and that is the general manager's job. But I would hope that Tomlin has some influence over that, man. He has to get people around him that are more legit than Randy Fichtner, who is the worst offensive coordinator in the league. And I don't understand why he isn't fired today. He needs to be fired. So I hold Tomlin accountable for that coaching staff. All right, that's on him. But for the game, I find it hard to put that on him because he didn't throw those 4 picks. He wasn't Marquise Pouncey. He didn't hike the ball over Ben's head. He didn't do that. Right? But now let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger, guys. I hate to say it, man, but Ben is done. Ben is done. And it's really sad because we all were operating on this notion that Ben is back because of what he did in Indianapolis. But let me tell you something, man. I'm tired of that too. And yesterday's game was a microcosm of that, where Ben is trash for the first half and then comes back and do some cowboy shit. I'm tired of it, man. It's inconsistent. It's inconsistent. And that's the first thing that you need to look for in a Hall of Fame quarterback. Sometimes they fall off of a cliff. But a lot of times, the first thing you see is inconsistency. Inconsistency. And as I said before, last night was just a microcosm of that. As you seen Ben be terrible in the first half, and then in the second half he played well. And it leaves you confused. It leaves you thinking, well, wait a minute, he just threw for 500 yards. You know, he's all right. He's okay. He's all right. Peyton Manning wasn't throwing for 500 yards in his last year. Right? Because Peyton fell off of a cliff. I'm looking at Ben, and I'm saying that he's done. I'm looking at Ben, and even though he has another year under his contract, I would tell Ben he has to retire or we're going to release him. You pick. Retire or we're going to release you. Because we're not going to get anything better from Ben. We're not. And we know that he's unwilling to throw the deep ball at this stage in his career for whatever reason. I would love to get that answer. I knew we were in trouble when we came out, and I told you guys this. I'm looking for us to attack Jackson, number 34, downfield, and he didn't do it. And it was just funny to me because the last time we had seen Ben, he was throwing the ball deep, and everybody was happy. And he came right back out and reverted right back to that short dink and dunk BS. That was a problem. The other thing about Ben that really, really annoys me, and I'm just ready to move on from him, is his personality. Ben is great, and I mean great, at causing chaos and hiding his hand. He's great at it. He does well with the media. He'll blame himself. He'll take some accountability and things of that nature. But Ben causes a whole lot of this BS. People, don't forget, early on in the year, the first five games a year, this offense was legitimate. It looked like an offense that you couldn't figure out who's going to burn you. Which receiver is going to burn you? You got a running game. We had 5 100-yard rushing games in the first 5 games. See, we forget this stuff. But I'm going to tell you what happened. Ben went down to Tennessee. We're on an undefeated team. He took a look around at people putting praise on Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady and all the rest of the quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers of the world. And Ben decided that this was going to be his offense. That Tennessee game is the game where Ben hijacked the offense. Ben completely hijacked the offense. How did we go from a team that had 5 100-yard running games to a team that couldn't run at all? Ben happened. Ben happened. So I wouldn't be opposed to getting a new coordinator. Go ahead and put Mason Rudolph in there, and let's move on. Let's move on. I'm done with Ben. I'm done with Ben. Even in his prime, Ben has never led his team to the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. He's never been the best player. Hands down, he's never been the best player on his team. He's never been that guy. He's never been a guy that's going to sling us to the Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. With all that being said, man, I respect what he's done. He is a Hall of Famer. I mean, for the past, I don't know how long Ben's been in the league. The past 15, 16 years or so, we've been so fortunate to have one of these quarterbacks. But the bottom line is, he is the worst of the elite quarterbacks. I keep telling you guys this. Ben Roethlisberger is the worst of the elite quarterbacks. He's never been better than Brees, never been better than Brady, never been better than Manning, never been better than Rodgers. And then there's Ben. I'm happy with it, but the time is over. He's done. It's done. Let's move on. Big Ben throwing 4 picks yesterday. Unacceptable. You can lose your arm, you can lose some talent and whatnot, but you should be the smartest guy in the huddle. You should be the most responsible guy in the huddle. We shouldn't have to worry about you getting us down to a 28-0 lead. And then Pouncey's the other one that got rest. Came out playing like crap. And Pouncey got trashed. Over and over. It's time for him to go too. So I put a lot of this on Ben, obviously. You can't get away from the 4 turnovers. Okay? The last thing I want to talk about, though, is Juju Smith-Schuster. I've been a big-time fan of his. I've held him down. I think that he's the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. That does not mean I think he's Antonio Brown or Julio Jones or Michael Thomas. I'm simply saying that he's probably a top 12, top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. Went out, got 13 catches, 157 yards for 1 touchdown. That's one hell of a game for what I believe will be his last game. As much praise and adulation that I give Juju, I gotta admit that I was disappointed in his comments about the Browns still being the Browns. Never really seen that be done before a playoff game. That's definitely not the Steeler way. But ultimately, what it really was a shot at Mike Tomlin. That was Juju saying, I know that I won't be here again another year. That's what that was. And so he threw in the nameless gray faces to use Tomlinism in a negative way. That was real low of Juju. I can't respect that. And also, as I noted earlier, this is the most lopsided rivalry in all of sports. When you are involved in a lopsided rivalry, you might want to be humble about it. And the reason you might want to be humble about it is because karma, law of averages, says that time will end. It's going to end one day. All right? The Browns will beat us one day in the playoffs. That's going to happen. Well, I don't like what Juju said because, to me, that just invokes the football gods to inflict karma on your ass a little more quicker than they may have. It's just, I don't like to use the word class because I'm not one of those guys that's big on football and class, but it is classless. It was just classless. But there are a lot of people that are blaming Juju and acting like that was the motivating factor in the win. And I think that's a bunch of baloney. That makes no sense at all. It's the playoffs. If the Cleveland Browns came in and beat us because Juju said that, you really want me to believe that? I don't believe it. For instance, see, we only hear about this when the team wins. That's the only time we hear about it. For instance, I'll give you a good point. So, Juju Smith-Schuster been dancing on the opposing team's logos all season long, right? Okay. We went 11-0. Why didn't the first 11 teams beat us because of that? When we took our first loss, our very first loss, all of a sudden we hear about Juju dancing on the logos. We really didn't even know that he was dancing on the logos. But the Bills beat us. Josh Allen comes out and says, hey, Juju was dancing on our logo. Then that became the story. But in the first 11 games, when the other team were losing, no one said this guy's dancing on our logos. So what, they wasn't motivated by Juju dancing on the logos when we was 11-0? You only hear about it when the other team wins. The other team wins and then they say, hey, yeah, he said that. Man, that's crap, man. These dudes is out here playing for their livelihoods. They're out here paying for contracts. They're out here playing for legacies. And you're telling me that they're going to win because Juju said that they're still the Browns. Get out of here, man. Come on. I don't buy that crap. I don't buy that crap. And even if that's the case, Juju went out there and backed it up with 13 grabs, 157 yards, and a touchdown. With that being said, man, I'm going to miss Juju. Guys, that's all I really got, man. This has been a tough year, man. This has been a tough year. Just to start out 11-0 and end it with a first-round loss to the Browns in this fashion, falling down 28-0. A high snap, the interceptions. That's rough, man. That's rough. Losing to a team that had no practice. By the way, I want to talk about that. I wonder if any of these GMs is going to be smart enough to take a step back and say, hey, maybe practice is a little bit overrated. Okay, not as in we're not going to practice, but maybe we should cut down practice a little bit. Maybe the guys will be fresher. Instead of having them come into the facility and run around and do this routes or work out, whatever, hey, let them do their thing. Maybe. I don't know. When you see somebody win after not practicing, you might want to reevaluate, hey, how beneficial is this practice? But in any event, man, we're home now, man. We're home now. And I hate to say it, but this could be taking us into some dark ages. We do have a top 5 organization in all sports. We do got a great coach. We do got a young and talented defense. So let's see what we can work out in the offseason, man. Still love my Steelers, man. Keep y'all heads up, man. It's all good, man. Keep your heads up, man. Please like, share, and subscribe.